Is there anybody this wouldn't be right for? And on the flip side, should everybody be doing this?
I think our good friend Anthony Chafee says species-specific diets and carnivore is it for humans. We're not different. We have different names, maybe different fingerprints. Our DNA is slightly different, but 99% it's the same. And ultimately, I think our evolutionary diet was likely fatty raw meat. And you better eat it before the other animals or the other humans come and take it from you. The only place for meat is in your belly, on your butt, essentially, because it's meant to get fat fast, as best you can, so you could survive another few days, another week, a couple of weeks without food. So I think ultimately carnivore is the ultimate primal diet for humanity. Really excited to talk with Carnivore Ray today. And I don't give a rip. Is that it?
That's it. I don't give a rip.
What is I don't give a rip?
I don't give a rip it's a family-friendly way of getting the point across. If you got kids or women around, or you're just trying to be respectful, I don't give a rip gets the point across without being overly offensive.
Well, tell us a little bit about carnivore and how you got into this space.
Oh, $1 million question.
That is $2 million today.
I August 1st, 2023 started carnivore and thought I was nuts for doing so. I saw this video of Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, and you got Joe saying, "Oh, I lost weight really quick," and I'm thinking, that's great. And he talks about joint pain going away. I'm thinking I could benefit from that. I've had knee pain for over a decade.
Wow.
And then you got Jordan Peterson talking about him and his daughter, how it's helped them with their health issues. And I never really had health issues, but mentally, I've suffered with depression for as far back as I can remember. And so I'm thinking, okay, I really don't think this is healthy, but at worst case scenario, I'll probably lose some weight. Didn't think I'd stick to it. Figured I'd cheat with some pizza and ice cream. It's always been my vice. And I'm on the third day. I get out of bed one morning and my knee doesn't hurt. I'm thinking, well, that's weird. That's probably placebo or something. So I start, doing some leg raises and doing some squats, and I don't have any pain. And I'm thinking, this is nuts. And I'm looking in the mirror. I feel skinny. I'm not skinny. I feel skinny. I'm 295 pounds. I'm not skinny.
But you're feeling it.
Yeah, I feel great. I feel just dialed in mentally, and I feel good. And fast forward 30 days in, I'm down 35 pounds. And I'm a pretty strong advocate that you can lose weight on any diet. So losing weight to me is not special, especially considering I had done it before. Was fat, got fit, got fat again, and now I'm fit again. But 35 pounds in a month's a lot. And so I make this video, not thinking anything of it. It's just something good happens, and I got to tell somebody.
Had you ever done anything good and wanted to tell someone that same way ever before? On the internet?
On the internet, no.
Okay.
No.
Right.
No.
Something unusual happened.
Something unusual.
More unusual than ever.
Yeah. 100%. And I make this video, and it's just my phone propped up, and I'm just saying, hey, I know this sounds nuts. I've been doing this crazy diet called the carnivore diet, and I've lost 35 pounds so far. I'm 30 days in. My knee pain's gone. I feel mentally just like I can think new thoughts. I feel the best I've ever felt, and didn't think anything would come of it. I posted on Instagram, and friends and family, oh, that's great, good job, Ray. And TikTok, it gets some million views, and I'm thinking, that's insane.
Yeah. How many
people saw
get
this?
1 million views?
Yeah,
right?
That's wild. And so, a lot of people had questions. More so, you lost 35 pounds in a month. How do I do that? And I just answered questions to the best of my ability. And fast forward, just the longer I was on carnivore, the more I learned and the more I researched and just got a fair understanding of carnivore and what worked for me. And I would share that with folks. And that's all it was is, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's how it's impacted me. And fast forward a year in, and I've lost 90 plus pounds. And I feel, for somebody who is fat, lost weight on a whole foods diet, 40% carbs, 40% protein, and 20% fat, and felt good in comparison to being obese. You feel better when you're fit. but I still had knee pain, still struggled mentally. And then gaining that weight back and then losing that weight through the carnivore diet, my knee pain's gone. And all of a sudden life feels possible. It's not a drag. Doesn't suck to be here. It's just, maybe it's worth living. And so mentally, if anybody's ever struggled with depression or any type of mental health, escaping that, you have a unique perspective on life of, wow, this is how people are supposed to feel. And that's why I kept doing carnivore, and that's why I continue to do carnivore.
That was a really great interview. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
There is more to the story. Well, tell us about the change, and suddenly you wanted to share something and put it out there. Do you think that has to do with something about mental clarity in really getting back to who we are, that we want to share our stories, but somehow there's something holding us back? And I think it's that shade of a standard diet, which has so many toxins within it that it damages our brain and our body.
Sharing the carnivore diet, it's a love-hate relationship for me. And I say love-hate. Love because it's changed my life.
Yeah. And
I've witnessed it change thousands of others' lives. Hate because I don't like social media. I think it's comical that I have social media. I'm on social media. I always say my happiest times in life are when I delete all social media. There's no problems except what's in front of your face. And with that, I would say the reason I continue to share it is if you have insight on something that would help somebody to some capacity.
Right.
I can't tell you how many thousands of DMs or comments or messages I've gotten of, hey, my wife and I saw your video 6 months ago. We've been on it for 3 months. She's lost 20 pounds. Her knee pain's gone. She's had it for 2 decades. I've had eczema most of my life. This is the best my skin's ever been. I've had this autoimmune issue, and it's just completely gone. And these people's lives have truly changed.
Because of you.
Because of them. But they may have seen a video that I, yapping online, but if me talking into a camera sparks enough conviction in somebody of, you know what, I'll try it, and their life ends up changing for the better, that's a massive win to me. I love people.
Yeah.
I think we're in this life to love people. I think that's a big part of it. And me loving people, challenging and encouraging them to do better, this is my way of fulfilling that call in life.
Do you read the newspaper?
No.
Do you read like magazines?
No.
So I see social media just like newspapers and magazines that in some way have always been there to sort of inform about human nature. And so when I grew up, there were no computers or phones and these sort of things. And I see it's all a matter of what you choose to listen to and watch and what you choose to put out there. Because there's always someone looking for the shit and other people looking for the flowers. And I see what you're doing as sending out the value of plants and flowers is the sense and the beauty they give our lives. But eating them is not good. And so I think social media is the new social medicine. The way that we can touch more people without them having to spend the money to get an expert to tell them what to do, but in general the expert is doing it mostly to make money, although we all have a profession. We all are here to, because we're not hunting and gathering anymore.
Sure.
Right? We now have to do other work in order to get our hunting and gathering needs.
Right.
But I think what you're doing is radically amazing in the sense that at your young age, you're touching so many lives and ultimately you're healing. And what are your, I guess, a little bit of what are your thoughts on that influence that you have? Yeah. And are there any things that you're inspired to sort of learn or do differently?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's been a very humbling journey for me. I've got a million thoughts. I think the vast majority of them aren't worth sharing with people. And so the fact that anybody cares to hear the thoughts that I do share, it truly is humbling. Or just walking out in public and, are you the carnivore guy? And hey, it's great to meet you. And it's a humbling experience because I view it, and you're very kind to say everything that you have. I don't walk in my shoes thinking I built this, I earned this. It's just the opposite. I don't know anything about social media. It just kind of happened. I certainly don't deserve any of this, but here I am. And so here's Ray in his fullest extent. I talk to people like I'd be talking to a buddy. And there's a lot of good feelings that come with that. The sole thing that pushes me to keep sharing it is what I said a little bit ago, of if this has the possibility of impacting one person's life and their life changes for the better forever, you got to say something. You can't keep it inside. If you have something that's life-changing, you don't gatekeep that information. You share it. If I had the cure for all the things, I'd just say, hey, here's the cure for all the things. I do think carnivore is a cure for a lot of things, and that's why I talk about it. As far as anything I would change, that's probably an evolving answer. The longer I'm on carnivore, the more I learn about things that work for me. And really that's all I'm doing. I don't come from a position of authority. Being on social media, you do have authority. I don't look at it that way. I'm just, here's what's worked for me. Here's what's worked for some folks. Here's what hasn't worked for me. And that's the lens that I try to share it from. But as far as what I would change, answer would probably be new every day.
Yeah.
Is find out what works for you and do that. That's what I challenge folks to do. Because what works great for me might be a little bit different for you.
We interviewed Dante Frigno, Freedom, and he said, "It only if I can help one person, and I've done my job, and inspired one person." It is quite an amazing thing that we're sharing an idea that is completely opposite of probably every other medical advice or even weight loss advice that you've probably seen.
Without a doubt. Anybody that holds the title doctor, so yourself, that talks about carnivore in a positive light, I'm always baffled by that. Because the way I interpret that is, here's this man or woman who's done years of schooling, got all the degrees and certificates and licenses and whatever they need to hold their current title, and they're going against the grain. They have a lot to lose. I have nothing to lose. I'm a loan officer. I help people buy houses. That's my career.
We appreciate what you do, by the way. It's very important
part
of life.
It's seeing folks with a lot to lose talk about something because they're convicted by it. I think that's amazing. And so hats off to you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I've learned from years of hardship and challenges, depression, anxiety, ADHD, bowel bleeding, arthritis, psoriasis, kidney stones. I've had everything. And as a child, I had terrible migraines and terrible bowel problems and an incorrigible child in so many ways. And over time, I saw in medicine, often what I was doing was hurting people and less in helping them. And then seeing people that would in my business getting pregnant without me, even though they had infertility, it was sort of baffling. And then as I began to see patients doing paleo diet and getting pregnant, and then keto diet and getting pregnant. And then one day I was watching someone almost 15 years ago on the internet who was ripped, didn't exercise, and carnivore, and I said, that one's for me. And I did that in 1 month, everything gone, never felt better. And I too suddenly had a feeling of inspiration. How can I hide this? And you're right, it's one person at a time, person in front of you. And usually it's the person in the mirror that you got to work on the most.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I've found in this. And I'm encouraged by the number of younger people doing this and seeing more and more at all ages beginning to touch this. And we're seeing a tremendous amount of problems in the Western medical system. I don't know if you've had any experience in the Western medical system with treatments, medications, or just aren't getting what you needed in any way.
The one example I can use would be antidepressants, and believe it or not, they did work for me. I took them, and all of a sudden, when I say they worked for me, something that I used to struggle really bad with was suicide ideation. And so I wasn't sitting here plotting to, end things, but I took a lot of comfort in the idea of, if this gets too much, I can stop it. And that gave me, it sounds sick, but it gave me a lot of peace. And fast forward, I'm taking these antidepressants, and that part's gone. Life's still not joyful, but I'm not fantasizing about death. And get to a point of, okay, I'm not big on medicine to begin with, in at least Western medicine, pharmaceuticals. So anytime I can avoid pills, I will. Come off it and go right back to it. And then all of a sudden I start doing this carnivore diet, and I'm not having suicide ideation. That's great. But life's actually pretty enjoyable. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's not perfect. There's a ton going on in life right now that I could, it would put me in shambles, a couple of years ago. But it's okay. This will pass. It's allowed me to just rationally think and function as a human, and it's liberating.
Is there anyone you think that this diet would be harmful for?
That's a great question. I think the way I phrase carnivore, and I'm also curious your thoughts on this too. There's different sides of the spectrum for carnivore and people's opinions, but I think that the vast majority, if not everybody, would thrive on a carnivore diet. That being said, if somebody feels great eating fruits and vegetables, eat the fruits and vegetables. If there was a pizza and ice cream diet that I felt this good, I would do that over carnivore. And I love carnivore. I love steak. I love eggs. I love bacon. I love all the carnivore foods. I would choose a pizza and ice cream diet over carnivore. But I know what that yields. That yields knee pain and me putting on excess weight and me going back to a depressed version of myself. The things that come with that type of diet, not worth it for me. If somebody eats those foods and they truly look in the mirror and go, wow, I'm thriving, I would say eat them. Have more variety. That's great. If you thrive on a specific food, why not eat it? That being said, I think there's a lot of people that have classified certain issues that they have as normal. I just have back pain. I just get heartburn after I eat.
Yeah.
I'm super tired after a meal. It's just normal. I just get acne. It's just cystic acne. I'm 50. I just get acne. And I'm sitting here listening to them, and I'm thinking, that's not normal. I don't think we're supposed to be 50 with back pain or knee pain or whatever other issue that somebody's having, bowel issues or fill in the blank. But we've classified them as normal, and it just comes with age, and it's not normal. And if you don't care, by all means, keep doing what you're doing. But if you think to yourself, if I change something and it changed my life for the better, why not explore that? And that's how I view it. But I think at the very minimum, the vast majority of humans would feel better than they've ever felt on a carnivore diet.
It's one of those things that if you haven't done it, you should at least give it a week, but best to try it for a month.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, oh, all those things I thought were just normal are not.
That's spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exercise. What's your go-to exercise?
I love lifting weights. And that's just going into high school, took a weight class, playing football, fell in love with lifting weights. I still do that because I thoroughly enjoy it. something I challenge folks to do is just walk. You don't have to be a gym rat. You don't have to work out 2 hours a day. You don't have to, I don't even think people need to walk into a gym. A gym's a relatively new thing. Just walk. Don't be sedentary. Yeah. At the minimum, walk. And you would thrive by walking 10,000 steps a day. Mm-hmm. We walk so little. It's comical. I wear a watch that tracks my steps, and honestly, I don't love walking. I'm learning to enjoy it, getting outside, especially when it's nice weather. But working an office job and sometimes working from home, you wake up, crawl out of bed, and then walk over to my office, and then at the end of the day, I've walked 1,500 steps, and it's like, that's a problem. And I think there's a lot of people that fall into that category. They don't realize how sedentary they actually are and how big of a silent killer that really is. Mm-hmm. And so I'm pro working out. I'm pro being active. Whatever gets somebody active, do that, whatever that looks like. I love lifting weights. I think it's really good for me mentally.
Yeah, I think doing some motion, creation is critical. We go from our bed to the car, to the office, and back to the home, and we're sort of in these boxes and we're not moving. Where not long ago there was no such thing as a car, right? And you live out where the farm, the ranch, and you had to do the work to create the food that fed your family and likely your neighbors, but it wasn't shipped around the world. Where we're eating foods that we never consumed as food. It's one of our big problems.
Yeah.
You had a question for me.
I'm curious your thoughts on carnivore. Same question you asked me. Mm-hmm. Is there anybody this wouldn't be right for? And on the flip side, should everybody be doing this?
I think our good friend Anthony Chaffee says species-specific diets and carnivore is it for humans. We're not different. We have different names, maybe different fingerprints. Our DNA is slightly different, but 99% it's the same. And ultimately, I think our evolutionary diet was likely fatty raw meat. And you better eat it before the other animals or the other humans come and take it from you. The only place for meat is in your belly, on your butt, essentially, because it's meant to get fat fast as best you can, so you could survive another few days, another week, a couple weeks without food. So I think ultimately carnivore is the ultimate primal diet for humanity.
Yeah.
But for some reason, either we were limited from eating the meat, restricted. The priest, the pope, the president, the pharaohs, kings and queens basically put off limits to the meat and made us peasants eat the mush. And that's really the simple story here. You can eat some plants. Maybe we're like bears. You can eat some berries, and maybe you can eat some grass, but I don't know the last I've seen humans eat grass, without something horrific coming out of it. But, think about you walking down the street, or you're in, you want to go eat some of these trees in this room? Would you ever think about doing that? No. So we're trained to eat the food that we've been claimed to be good for us at either the market, supermarket, even the farmer's market, or the seeds that you take in order to grow them at home.
Yeah.
Ultimately, those are the least toxic foods if they're prepared properly. You eat the proper part of the plants, and that we have manipulated them over time to be less toxic. But none of them are non-toxic.
Yeah.
And so, but would you rather eat kale or starve? We'll do everything we can to make something edible so we don't starve.
Right.
And my bet is famines around the globe were very common not that long ago, and they likely are still happening around the globe in ways that you and I, in an abundant food system, don't really understand.
That's a beautiful answer.
What is your go-to meal?
Can I give a few?
Oh, yeah. This is, let's go at it.
What I ate a couple hours ago. I've been on this kick, and it's so simple, but it's just burger patty, smash burger
Yeah,
with Redmond's real salt,
yeah.
a little bit of cheese. I do raw cheddar cheese
Love it.
and bacon, and it's just something in my soul. So that's my current kick.
How do you cook it?
Cast
We
iron,
want
stovetop,
to
cast
see
iron.
it. We want to see it.
Stovetop, cast iron, and that's it. I just get a firm griddle press and just make that thing as flat as I can.
Any tallow or butter on the pan?
A little bit of tallow.
Tallow.
That's it.
Smash it down.
Smash it down.
You like it well cooked, medium cooked?
I like
Rare.
medium.
Okay.
I don't love raw meat. There's times where it's good. I like a little, at minimum, give me a sear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you flip it over.
Yeah.
Cooked bacon. Throw it on, then put the cheese.
Bacon goes first.
Ah.
So I'm cooking all the bacon.
Yeah.
Then I'm cooking the beef patty in the bacon grease. And then I'm topping it with cheese. It's going to melt just because it's still piping hot.
Amazing.
And it is amazing.
Is this grass finished meat? Is that a big thing for you? What are your thoughts?
It's not a big thing for me. I'd say a good portion of my meat is grass finished just by luck, just because
It's what's there.
a farm will send it to me.
Ah.
And whoever sends it to me, and I'm not going to say no to meat. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's grass finished or grain finished. I personally, when I first started carnivore, I had the cheapest, lowest quality foods, eggs and cheese included. It did cheese for the first 3 days, and I didn't touch it after that. And then beef. It was the cheapest I could find. And fast forward, now I have really high quality meats, and physically I feel absolutely no different. I feel just as good.
Kind of always think about judging our meat as like judging humans.
Yeah.
We're all perfect. The worst beef meat is still better than the best plants. And ultimately, nature made them both. And I think we overly judge the quality of meat. I just look for the fattiest meat.
Yeah.
That's what I care about.
Yeah. What would you say percentage-wise? I'm sure you don't track, or maybe you do track your food, but if you had to calculate percentage-wise fats versus proteins.
Well, I don't know what a protein is, because you're either eating animal meat or plants. So animals, all cells contain fat, sugars, and proteins. So what we're really talking about is the percentage of lean meat versus fatty meat, although we call it protein. But I don't know how much that's really true, because a cell wall is made of fat, has embedded proteins and sugars. And I know it maybe is a little scientific, but mostly in our carnivore world, we talk about percentage protein and fat, but it's either lean meat or fatty meat. I like about at least 30% to 50% of the meat is white. And that's the fat content that I love.
Yeah.
Lean meat is not as good for us, except if you're looking to lose weight. So the leaner meat has less calories, technically. And so you're and whatever people think a calorie is, but just think of a calorie as a packet of energy, potential energy for your body. And it seems that when you eat fat, you get more energy packet than when you eat lean meat or plants. And so a little extensive answer to the question, but basically I love it fattier. I love A5 Wagyu, but I don't eat it that often, but it's like a special treat because it's like butter.
Yeah.
And I like my meat rare to raw, black and blue, with butter and salt.
Yeah.
I'll use some blue cheese. I love blue cheese. And I think raw is better than pasteurized. And if you read Pottinger's Cats, you kind of get a story about why cooked versus raw may be different for us. But I understand sort of our sensitivity to that. We're not used to eating raw meat. You're not used to, getting the meat at the store, bringing it home, and just eating it, right?
Right.
Because our sensitivity is cooked meat. Right? And certainly wherever that meat came from, especially burgers, minced meat, or hamburger, ground beef, there's a greater contamination risk. Although I think the risk is still pretty small if you get it from a quality producer, meaning they're really taking care of how they care for those cows, how they care for the processing of that meat. Because usually the processor is different than the producer. But getting really great quality meat in the sense of how it was processed, that you get it frozen usually. Yeah, it's getting they process the meat, they cut it, and they freeze it. Man, it lasts forever, and it's the very best ever.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's a lot better than grocery stores.
So tell me about family or friends. Wait, let me hit on the grocery store real quick.
Okay.
And because I want everyone to know that I believe the food industry is doing an amazing job producing and providing quality food in America. It's our choice of what we choose to eat, probably most important. And I think even industrial meat is still way better than the best plants, as I said. And I think that for those that are looking for the cheapest, and probably buying a whole or half a cow, might be the best way, and joining with others.
Yeah.
Lots of different ways to do it. So I think that Price Chopper, Walmart, Costco, there are a lot of great places, people who are on a really low budget and they're finding sales. I think you're still going to get a home run on meat.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Family, friends, how are they doing
yeah.
on all this? What is this? What are you doing, Ray?
Just talking
Come
life.
on, huh?
Talking life.
Yeah.
Family and friends. I don't have a ton of family. Came from a pretty broken home. Dad in prison, had a couple stepdads, less than ideal. Loved my mom to death.
Yeah.
Wonderful woman. Sister, she's got a couple kids. I got two beautiful nieces from her.
Nice.
They live in Washington State. That's where I grew up, in eastern Washington, southeastern Washington. And I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee. Moved here about 5 years ago. I tend to talk about my friends a lot more. I have the greatest friends in the world. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not somebody that uses words flippantly. I think words have meaning, and I think you ought to steward your talk well, your speech well. I would say every friend that I have, every man that's in my life is better than I am. And I think that's important for men. If you want to be a great man, you need greater men around you. And I would say they all check off those boxes in different ways. And that we all do different things. Got a buddy that works in tech, IT, security. Got another buddy that, believe it or not, medical device sales. And got buddies that are athletes and play sports professionally. Have friends that are in entertainment. And they're all really great at what they do, which is good. I think we ought to be good at whatever we're doing. They're all incredible men. So each one's a man that I look at and go, God, I really want to be like that. They all hold qualities that I really admire, whether it's intentionality or how they carry themselves, how they love other people, how they treat their spouse, how they're raising their kids. They all hold something in them that I look at and go, I want to learn to do that. And I got the greatest friends in the world. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How many of them are following carnivore?
None of them. Yeah. It's a tight niche community. I will say I'm thankful for social media because it's brought so many people about. When I first started carnivore, there wasn't a single soul that I told that went, oh, that's great, I'm so happy for you. I was instantly met with, That's not healthy. And I can't blame them. That was my thought too.
Yeah.
It still was probably for the first 6 months of, shoot, am I going to die?
Yeah. Sort of you say, you're right,
Yeah.
but like, I feel more amazing than ever before.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Yeah. It's tough. All but one ended up changing their mind of, okay, clearly it's not bad for you. And it took, at the end of my first year doing carnivore, I had some blood work done and had a buddy's wife. She's a nurse, amazing woman. And we would just butt heads constantly on carnivore. We would just debate and debate and debate. And it was coming from a place of care. She wants me to be healthy and, live a long time. And that's where she's coming from in, poking fun or addressing these issues.
Sure.
And I get my blood work done, and she's thrilled with the results. And she goes, okay, you're fine. Keep doing carnivore. I'm still not going to do it, but, it's not bad for you. And everybody has an opinion. And if you have the gall to post on social media about the carnivore diet, hats off to you. You're going to have probably a lot more folks tell you why you're dumb than praise you for doing what you're doing. My immediate circle and those around me, my loved ones, seeing all of their minds change, that felt good. Yeah. They're all amazing. They're humans.
Faith, spirituality.
Yeah.
What are your connections? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I believe that humans are messy, broken individuals. I think this world's a messy, broken place. I think that Jesus Christ was a real person who walked this earth and was perfect and blameless and got crucified and died. And I really believe that he rose 3 days later. And I think that I'll say that I know in my own life, my life is a story of God's grace. There's nothing good in my life that I can point to and say, look what I've done. And social media is a prime example. Coming from such a broken home, there's a million different outcomes that I could have become as a man. And this current version was not a probable one. Statistically, and just looking at the probability of me being in prison or dead or strung out on drugs or whatever, extremely high, just in what I grew up in. There's no reason for me to have gotten as far as I am in life now. And why I use social media as an example. I don't do social media. I wouldn't say I'm good at social media. When I post a video, it's recorded on my iPhone and it's edited by me using an app. I'm not a video editor. I have no idea what I'm doing. If it didn't automatically put captions on that video, there'd be no captions on videos. There's nothing special, or there's no special talent that I have regarding social media, but here I am, fast forward to now, and got a couple different platforms with 500,000 people on it. And that's a really good indicator of, hey, I couldn't tell you, if you asked me, Ray, how do I build a following? My honest answer would be, I don't know. I don't know. Get lucky. Find something you just enjoy talking about and maybe it pops off. I don't know. But my whole life, and there's a million stories that I could share, it's a constant new chapter of here's this really good thing, and Ray did nothing to deserve it. And so I'm a Bible-believing Christian. Long story short.
I always think about Jesus. How many followers did he have in his walking life? Handful. But over the centuries and the evolution of millions of people have learned his way. He's created an amazing following. But he didn't set out just to get numbers. One fisherman at a time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of it all.
Yeah.
And faith, I always say, is first. And eat the fatty meat.
Yeah.
And go to work every day.
Yeah.
Because really exercise, I just say go to work. and find your purpose, and or your purpose will find you, in essence. And I wonder if in some way it's helping people heal. It's part of your purpose. Even though it found you.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It does make sense. I think back to, I don't know how long you want to stay on faith, but when I was a senior in high school, I had this revelation, this profound thought. I don't know, I felt like God said to me that he was going to use me for a handful of things in life, that he was going to use me to travel and speak, which I always loved public speaking. I'm thinking, that's cool, I'll take that. That he was going to use the finances that he gives me to provide for the church and many individuals, and that he would use me to pastor people, not be a pastor, but pastor folks, particularly in the corporate world. And a lot of time's passed since then, a lot of time to me, relatively speaking. In the majority of those years, I held on to those promises, those thoughts, those good thoughts that I had, and just kept thinking to myself, how in the hell does any of this come to fruition? You know, at one point I'm working landscaping. I fix sprinklers for a living. You know, how am I going to be speaking on stages and influencing, men in the corporate world? Or you're going to give me a bigger paycheck because I'm not providing for the church and many individuals doing landscaping, and get another job and working in a corporate office within accounting for a large mechanical contracting firm, and moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and now I'm a loan officer, and steward my health poorly so bad to a point where, I need to steward it better. I start the carnivore diet, and I just happen to talk about it, and I'm speaking publicly, and sometimes that's a stage, sometimes that's just to my iPhone, and then people see it from the comfort of their own home. It's a very wonderful feeling to have a promise from years ago and see the fruition of that promise come true.
Who creates everything? God.
Yeah.
God knows what God's doing always. We human beings don't always see his way, but if we're just patient enough, it will come to fruition as he has given us. And so ultimately, God is within us. If we just keep talking to him, he'll guide us.
Yeah.
I grew up in L.A., kicked out of school in a gang, couldn't read, father in jail.
Really?
Yeah. And by the grace of God, here I am.
Dr. Kiltz. Really?
Really.
L.A. kicked out.
L.A.
Wow.
In a gang, 18th Street.
Okay.
I interviewed Lisa Pickard and her husband Ken earlier. Ken was in the Army. No, I'm sorry, in the Air Force, and he also worked for 30 years in LAPD. And I talked to him a little bit about it, and he said, "Yeah, there was real stuff out there." And I believe that our plant-based diet is the cause of the majority of our problems. My father, your father, all of them are damaged because of our plant protein low-fat diet. And then the easy access, in the sense that it's honored that you can drink a lot, right? We think people who drink a lot, and it's a good thing for people, right?
Yeah.
And even marijuana now, it's okay, right? And so we've created an environment that has been around for a long time, and it's hard for men and women. Relationships are hard. I don't know if you've been married yet or have children yet.
Not yet. God willing.
God willing. Well, that is always God's way. But the challenge is they're all hard, because God creates them all that way. And I do believe that our biggest hardships are secondary to our brain dysfunction. Depression, suicidal thoughts, criminal ideation and actions are all brain damage. So if we think of your heart or your lungs or your kidneys or your liver not working naturally, we wouldn't blame you for it, would we? But when we act out with criminal action, we blame you personally for not having the know-how how to not do that, right?
Yeah.
But what if it's no different than any other organ dysfunction?
That's an incredibly profound thought that I have not linked until just now. I think you're spot on.
I only tell you that because I think I've seen it in my family. And I've seen it throughout the generations of humanity. Jesus Christ always says love and forgiveness, right? And I believe he said that because he knew that no one is purposely acting out in a negative way. It's dysfunction from pathology. And unfortunately, that's the one piece we don't give to our brothers and sisters who are either harming themselves or others.
Yeah.
And I remember visiting my father in jail, and the one thing that saved him was Jesus Christ and faith. And I know for myself, I found faith in Jesus, raised Catholic, and I couldn't read. So I didn't know the real stories. And I couldn't sit and listen because I was ADHD and my brain was all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So now we're expected to learn something, yet our brains are damaged and we can't learn the way everyone says, well, you got to know this, right? And then, and so I know for myself, the healing came when I finally went carnivore. But 15 years before that, Catholic, atheist, medicine, science. But then when I found Jesus and understood the power of the thought, the mindset. So as you're believing and thinking about your public speaking, professional speaking, and helping others, which is really part of Jesus Christ and the manifestation for us to go out there and share.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read or know much about oh my God, Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
His story.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't from it's there's some rags in there for all of us.
Yeah.
And I always say that hardship builds a strong ship. And nobody does great things without having had failures and hardships and challenges and family problems.
Yeah.
And friend problems and relationship problems and money, everything, because that's part of God's way to make us stronger.
Yeah. I'm curious, would you say through carnivore, has that allowed you to have more grace for humans?
Much more so, because plants are the source of fermentation in the gut, which makes alcohol. Heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine are all plant toxins. There are other mind-altering drugs that come from plants. And so if your mind is altered in a negative way, then that's going to alter your ability to see the human being in front of you. And if you think about it, alcohol makes people either severely depressed or angry. Many people, they use those drugs to find happiness, but it's so short-lived, brings them right back down.
Yeah.
And they need more of that hit, which does further damage to the brain. Schizophrenia, psychosis, depression, dementia, Alzheimer's, they're all related to a plant protein low-fat diet, which damages our brain. And so carnivore, suddenly you see God, because you could now look in the mirror and see the clarity of that beautiful human being.
Yeah.
Which we don't see because we're usually walking around with what's wrong with me, or I don't want to show myself or say anything because people are going to think ill of me, because that's what we think of ourselves. But it sounds to me like you too have found a clarity on carnivore more so than you found on a standard diet.
I don't know how anybody wouldn't have that outcome. The standard American diet, sure, it might bring you momentary joy eating the pizza and the ice cream. And I use those foods because those are just foods that I've always loved. But
Keep
just
going.
about any diet would be better than the standard American diet, apart from starving. I'd put vegan above that. It just truly, there's eating foods that are designed to be hyper palatable, that are stripped of its nutrients and created solely so that you enjoy it so much and that there's no actual adequate nutrition that your body's going to absorb. And so your brain's not going to tell yourself, hey, I'm full, stop eating. So you just keep eating it. I think that's a crime against humanity. I think
A crime against humanity.
I really do.
Wow. It's a big statement.
I don't say that lightly. I genuinely mean that. The creation of these ultra processed foods, and I think you put it in a good light earlier. The U.S. has done a really good job of, I'm twisting your words here, but keeping grocery stores full. They've done a good job of making it so that we never have to starve. That's not why we would go extinct or die early.
Well, again, back to, we were starving for so long, we needed something, but then we overdid it because we wanted to make things quick and easy. In medical school and residency, I lived on ramen noodles. Now, I grew up in L.A. I'm Italian. I ate a lot of pasta, but my first wife was Hispanic and Mexican, and we just, I love Mexican food and rice and beans and anything that go with that, tortillas and everything. But over time, I realized all of that was causing my damage, and carnivore is like freedom, food freedom.
Yeah. That's another thing that I haven't mentioned yet, but the healing that it does for somebody with a food addiction, or somebody that copes with food. Food's always been my source of coping. Thankfully, it wasn't drugs, but sure put on a lot of excess weight through coping through food. Eating a carnivore diet, not impossible, but it's really hard to overindulge on a carnivore diet consistently. You don't find yourself obese and slugging around this massive amount of extra weight. It's given me so much freedom as somebody who finds comfort in food, as somebody who has never had a healthy relationship with food. I can now look at a piece of pizza or a bowl of ice cream and not even be tempted by it. It's just not even something that I want. I compare it to, you're married, you love your wife, you see somebody that's attractive, you don't have this impulse to go cheat on your wife. You just, it just is what it is. It's just a person. It's fine. And that's how I look at these nasty foods. I'm like, there's nothing beneficial in me eating that. So I'll just, I'm good without it. I'm really content with what I have.
What would you like to see change in our world today?
Regarding food specifically, I would say...
I didn't say that, but you take it where you want to go.
I could give probably 1,000,001 answers on what I'd like to see change. I think the knowledge of food, if I could impart knowledge in everybody about food, I don't think everybody has to be carnivore. I really don't. If somebody doesn't want to be carnivore, don't be carnivore. Like I said earlier, if you are content with how you feel currently and you're eating whatever foods you want to, do that. That has no impact on my life. I don't care if you eat dog poo for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's going to have zero effect on me personally. If that's what you want to do, by all means, do it. You want to eat rocks. I don't care. But at least having the knowledge of, if there's something wrong with me, if I have some kind of ailment in my body, food might heal it. Either removing what I'm currently eating or eating more of what I'm not eating and that might have a positive impact. I really wish the knowledge behind food was more widespread, because it's not something we're taught. I didn't take a nutrition class until I went to college, and that wasn't even mandatory.
And was it correct?
No, no. It was. I had a good professor. She was very gracious, and she had a lot of knowledge. But looking back, I certainly don't agree with everything.
Yeah.
But we're not. There's things that we're taught, and it's mandatory. Nutrition, I can't recall ever being one of them.
I think it's there in ways we don't know. But I always say, anyone says, well, they didn't learn nutrition, I say, it's all false. So if you're taught nutrition, it's usually propaganda. Because nobody teaches the carnivore diet in any university or nutritional school.
Yeah.
The American College of OBGYN recommends a Mediterranean diet and red wine for pregnant and lactating women. They mention a flexitarian, a vegetarian. They recommend against Atkins, keto, paleo, and there's no mention of carnivore. Isn't that crazy?
It's wild.
So do we wait for our professional organizations to begin to open up to carnivore? Or do we begin to really share this through a one person to one person?
I think taking action is how you make change. I think, in theory, it'd be wonderful if professional organizations came out and, at the minimum, just acknowledged carnivore as something that, hey, maybe this is a way to heal your body.
Yes.
Maybe you don't do it forever, but maybe you do it for a period of time.
Therapeutic, like keto.
At the minimum.
Yeah.
At the minimum. That's my dream world. That's a fantasy. It's not happening. And so, like you were saying, through Jesus, who's had the largest impact of any human in the history of the world, it's person by person. And then you look back a century from now, and holy cow, look how much has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything I haven't asked you or anything you'd like to ask me?
Oh,
We're open.
we'll be here a couple hours.
It's okay. We got a few minutes left.
A few minutes left?
Yeah.
Okay. A few minutes? I got a few minutes?
Yeah. She got 8 minutes according to my clock.
Why do you work so hard?
I don't. It's easy when you love what you do. We will die. And before I die, I want to make myself the best fertilizer. I want to make myself the best human that heaven can't wait. But it can, because it knows the mission we're here for. See, most people think work is a four-letter negative word, but it is the most positive word ever. Because if you and I didn't hunt and gather 50,000, 100,000 years ago, or do our due diligence to find shelter and clothing and protection, we'd be dead. So I think we've been trained to believe you should just work 3 days a week and make 10 times more money. Well, money never gets you really much of anything. It's the passion of the mission you're on in life. I feel very blessed. At 69 years young, I'm in my 70th year of life. I've just never felt better. And I'm energized to share something that I can touch more people's health with both faith and carnivore. Keto's good too, by the way. I don't want to eliminate that. Because you can do it at any diet. You can do keto, even vegans. But touching more people's lives, and that's why I went into medicine, to help people and inspire people. And public speaking, I love. But it's still I feel a little nervous and maybe anxious to do it. Am I going to have the right message? Am I going to say the right words? Am I going to, because I don't want to hurt or insult people. I want to inspire them.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that you're going to eat what you're going to eat, you're going to think and do what you're going to do, but we're all sharing ideas that maybe we can up the game a little bit and live a better life.
That's good. Another question for you. Do you think plants have their place in health at all, medicinally, or is it completely just never should be?
Well, I think if you know, we're going to get sick and die of something. And many of them are related to the microbes, and we can use plants for healing in many ways. So there's some medicinal properties to plants. And I do think we're omnivores, and I think our biggest problem that we're not eating enough animal fat. That's really probably the biggest problem. Because when you eat animal fat, especially raw animal fat, you suppress the microbes in the gut, you lower their count and improve the quality, I believe, which reduces the fermentation and the damage that they do, and or eliminate them, which I think is something that we don't even think about. But I think that without plants, we would not be here alive. Plants are critical to our lives. And so are sugars, by the way. Our body requires sugar. It's just not required to eat plants. Because when you eat meat, there is sugar in it. And maybe that's the part that people don't understand. Small amounts of plants that are low toxins and low antigenicity, meaning they don't cause an anaphylactic reaction that could kill you fast, are the least harmful. So plants cooked well, processed properly, are less toxic and eat more fat. And think about it. How do you build your house? Plants. Right?
Yeah.
Many of us use plant products for our clothing. If you think about cotton, bamboo, and another one I'm thinking about from the plants are the way we make so many things. So can we live without plants? No, we can't. But they're just not a good food source for us. And fiber, not good. I was going to say linen is the other one. It's a plant. Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. I like your thoughts, though.
And I'm learning from others like you, because I love to listen to people who are out there sharing their stories rather than reviewing a published scientific paper that most of the time, I was talking to a resident the other day, and I operate, and the residents help me. And I said, when's the last time you read a scientific paper that was clear, concise, and made sense? She said, never. They're complicated. I think they're written that way. So most of us, even scientists, we don't want to admit the stupidity or the illogic nature of most of these papers. I always say if it's complex, it likely is all wrong anyway.
That's a good point. It also doesn't reach people well. And maybe that's not the goal, but conversations have to be palatable.
Yeah.
Or even if you're trying to change somebody's mind. For instance, if I wanted the world to become carnivore, I wouldn't tell them they're dumb and stupid for not being carnivore.
Yeah.
It's the worst way to change somebody's mind.
Yeah.
I've never changed somebody's mind by hurling insults at them. It's another, and I know we're short on time, but it is a comical thing seeing the people that have an uproar against carnivore. Because my first thoughts are, you don't actually care. You're a shit stick. You're just stirring the pot. And maybe it's for views. Maybe that helps you get paid more. Maybe that's just who you are as a person. I don't know. But if you actually sat back and thought, I really care about people. I think carnivore is extremely unhealthy. I don't want people to die from this diet. How do I best change their mind? It's not by calling me a,
Yeah.
a dumb, stupid
Right.
mother effer.
Yeah. We're going to carry on another time, and I'd love to share it with your group, your community, and Carnivore Ray, Ray Hicks,
That's it.
is inspiration for all of us, and I think carnivore is smart, but you don't know it until you do it. And like anything else, you have to explore the ideas that most people go, this will never work. That's crazy. But I do a lot of reading of things I don't believe in order to learn something I don't know. Because it's our beliefs that hold us back, our opinions. And that's what we need to learn to sort of throw out the door and experience something. That's why I think for so many years we had to realize that we have to put the shoes on of other people to walk in their footsteps and understand them. And that's what this is all about. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me on.
Well, it's really great. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And we added keto because I want everyone to know that keto carnivore conversations are inviting everyone into the story, because we're all human beings. And you are going to do what you're going to choose to do, but we want to give you just a little taste of something different in this process. Please share, like, subscribe. But most of all, we're grateful for you. Thank you. God bless.